The senator from Illinois.
Mr. President, those who are following this debate, and I think many across America are, should understand what just happened. There was a discussion about the filibuster. The filibuster is a Senate rule that does two things. It says that you can't move an item to a vote, and you have to wait a period of time to have what's called a cloture vote. And in order to pass a cloture vote, you need 60 votes, not a majority. So I'd just correct, if I can, the record. A filibuster does more than delay the vote. It establishes a higher vote requirement. 60 votes, not a majority. Yesterday, the Speaker of the House brought before his body of 435 members the proposal to end this deadlock. He received 218 votes, one more than half of the membership. He had a majority vote, not one more, but a majority vote. We are asking for the same opportunity. Let us bring our proposal forward for a majority vote. The Republicans have refused. They have put us in a filibuster. They have said, no, we will require 60 votes and we will delay the vote until possibly 1 a.m. Sunday morning. That's where we are. Let me say a word about the underlying issue. This morning, Mr. President, like many members of the Senate, I wanted to get away from this place and spend a few minutes reflecting on something other than the give and take of the political debate. I got up early and walked over to Eastern Market, bought a cup of coffee, and sat on a bench for about 3 hours, just watching people walk by to try to clear my mind. And while sitting there, I got an email from a buddy of mine from high school. Now, that goes back a few years. His name's Ed Renolette, and he lives in Florida. And I'd like to read into the record what my buddy from high school wrote to me this morning. He said, I sent this email to our Republican senator in Florida, too. I've rode out the storms of many high seas in the last 20 or so years. This one has me worried. Let's get the ship on the right course and get this fixed. He goes on to say, you all need to get past being Democrats and Republicans. Many mistakes have been made over the past years. Compromise and get this squared away. I am in the later years of my life, he writes, and I'll be damned, he says, if I want to see it go down the drain because you all can't agree on the debt issue. I am neither a Democrat, Republican, or Tea Party person. I'm an American, and I believe that you both have my best interest at heart. Eddie Renolette from Florida. I would just say that under these circumstances, he expresses the views of many people across America. This is not a crisis which we couldn't control. This isn't an earthquake or a tornado or a hurricane. It isn't a war. It is a created political crisis. The extension of the debt ceiling has been done routinely 89 times since 1939, 55 times by Republican presidents, 34 times by Democratic presidents, and President Ronald Reagan holds the record, having extended the debt ceiling 18 times in 8 years without a confrontation, without the American economy threatening a collapse. This is a manufactured political crisis, and it's time for both parties to rise up and come up with a solution. What the majority leader has put on the table, half of it was a proposal by Senator McConnell, the Republican leader. Some people didn't like it, but Majority Leader Reid said it'll be bipartisan. I'm putting McConnell's proposal on the table. I'm going to put a proposal as well on the table from our side, make it bipartisan and move it forward. Now 43 Republican senators have said they're not voting for it. So we are at a standoff. A word about the president's role in this. President Obama, and I know this because I attended the meetings as a member of the leadership here, President Obama spent more time on this issue than any president I can recall. He met at least 6 or 7 times for 2 and 3 hours at a time with the leadership of the House and Senate, Democrats and Republicans, and tried to work out differences. He proposed the creation under Vice President Biden's leadership of a group that would negotiate. It sat and met for months, and then finally, the Republican leader in the House, Eric Cantor, walked out. And he made quite a noise as he left the room. He said, I don't want to be part of this anymore. And then the president started dealing with Speaker Boehner directly to try to get something worked out, and twice Speaker Boehner walked away from that. So the president, to fault him in this process is not fair. He has engaged all the leaders time and time again Last Saturday, as Senator McConnell said, he said we no longer need the president in this picture. We're going to do it ourselves. Well, we spent a week at it, and we have not achieved that. I'm sure the president is ready and willing to do everything in his power to get this back on track. Mr. President, what is at stake in this debate is the fate of the American economy at a point when we are recovering from a recession with millions of Americans out of work. Those who are showing great bravado and great political speeches here are calling bluffs with other people's chips. What's going to happen at the end of the day here, regardless of what the politicians say back and forth, is that ordinary people are going to be affected. Their lives, their businesses, their savings are going to be affected by what we decide to do in the next few days. I think what we need to do is clear, and Senator Reid's proposal addresses it. Number one, reduce spending. Let's get this deficit under control. Senator Reid's proposal does just that. $2.4 trillion in spending reductions, all of which have been voted for by Republicans already. So there's no controversy there. It's bipartisan. Secondly, we cannot lurch into another round of this debate every few months. The president is right, and this bill reflects it, that we need to move this debate until after next year so that our economy is strong again, and the next debt ceiling vote will be in 2013. Let's not face this again and again. America doesn't want to see this movie over and over. I would also say the provision in Senator Reid's bill proposed by Senator McConnell that would, in fact, say that the president has to personally ask to extend the debt ceiling is a responsibility the president will accept, and he should accept. I think what Senator Reid has offered is a balanced approach, a bipartisan approach, and it should be the basis for a compromise. But I certainly hope one thing comes out of this exchange on the floor this morning. I hope that Senator McConnell will finally agree to sit down with Senator Reid on a bipartisan basis, work with the House leaders and the president, and get this done. The American people are running out of patience if they haven't already run out of it, and we're running out of excuses. We have a limited amount of time left here to avert a crisis that will affect a lot of innocent people across America. It is time for us to roll up our sleeves on a bipartisan basis, get this job done. Mr. President, I yield the floor.
The Senator yields.